You got Texas A&M and LSU getting ready to go at it against one another. This game will be, so this is number 4 Texas A&M traveling to take on number 20 LSU according to the Redshirt Sports Top 25. Texas A&M right now, they are the only undefeated team left in the SEC. Only a handful of undefeated teams left. No, there's a couple left in the Big Ten. Georgia Tech as well is still somehow standing in all of this. Plus, how about BYU and Navy as the undefeated teams? Do I expect a Texas A&M team to come out here and continue to be undefeated? I don't know. I'll know we are going to see an undefeated SEC team. I would really know. Now, does that mean that I think they're going to necessarily lose this game? I'm not exactly sure either, right? So for Texas A&M, they definitely had one of the most dominating starts of 2025. But they had a gut check last week. They definitely had that gut check last weekend. They had to win in a shootout against Arkansas, an Arkansas team that maybe has fired our head coach, but is certainly still an extremely hungry team as well. And because of how hungry this team was, it ended up being a 4-quarter battle. But Texas A&M, they found a way to pull it out. And sometimes in the beautiful sport of college football, a win is a win, regardless of whether you win by 3 points or win by 30 points. A win is definitely a win. What I am impressed about with this Texas A&M team is that they have found a way to win in a multitude of different ways. We've seen them win in shootouts, not just with the Arkansas game, but earlier this year when they played against Notre Dame, finding a way to beat Notre Dame in a shootout. But in an event where, the offense isn't fully clicking, they've also found ways to win with their defense as well. The Auburn game for Texas A&M is a perfect example of that, where Texas A&M, they only put up 16 points in that game, and they end up winning. So they have continued to show that they can win in a multitude of different ways. And I think that's, really kudos to Mike Elko and his coaching staff, being able to find a way to continue to get better as a football team, and really one of the more complete teams in the country, right? Particularly, the heart and soul of this team, though, is led by Marcel Reed, who had a really excellent game against Arkansas last weekend, 280 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns as well in that matchup. They have one of the better offensive lines, and again, it's just a complete offense, while defensively, over the last 3 SEC contests, not counting the Arkansas game, they have been borderline smothering people, averaging 12 points a game over the last 3 SEC games outside of the Arkansas matchup, and then also only allowing opposite teams to convert 2 for 33 on 3rd down and 10. So with that being said, even though Texas A&M is one of the most complete teams in the country, they are going up against an LSU squad, on the other hand, that is going to be in complete wounded animal mode. Think about what's going to happen to this LSU team if they can't find a way to win this game at home, right? We're talking about a 3rd SEC loss. So you're talking about LSU not being able to go to Atlanta. And then you're also talking about a 3rd overall loss in your CFP playoff hopes, making it to the CFP. They would officially be on life support at that point, as your number 20 team in the country right now. We know that the defense is pretty good, but even then, I no longer know if this defense is an elite defensive output. They are averaging 14.5 per game, but we've seen some chinks in the armor, so to speak, between the Ole Miss matchup that they played earlier this year, as well as most recently the Vanderbilt game, where Vanderbilt was in fact able to put up a season high against this LSU defense. But I think what really hurts LSU the most is, I think now that we've made it, I guess, well over halfway through the year at this point, is that this offense, it might just be what it is, man. There's a tremendous amount of talent between Garrett Nussmeier, and I understand Garrett Nussmeier hasn't been fully healthy whatsoever. But at the same time, Even with the Garrett Nussmeier injury, they have struggled to finish drives. Even if they get into the goal line, they can get some explosive plays. I will give that to them, but just the lack of ability to finish in the red zone or even down by the goal line, that has been a tremendous issue for the LSU Tigers. And it's a shame because they now have a defense that is a national championship caliber defense. So if they had, the same offenses that they had even last year or a couple of years ago when Jaden Daniels was quarterbacking this LSU team, we're talking about them as a much more serious title contender. But instead, we're talking about them as a team that is going to possibly be on life support depending on how this game ends up going. Some other key factors to look at in this one, I'm really looking towards, can Texas A&M continue to scale up? Can their offense show up? That's really what it comes down to. Because really, if Texas A&M puts up 25, even I think Texas A&M wins comfortably. And I do think that there is more paths for Texas A&M to win than there is for LSU to win. Whereas for LSU, you're looking at almost having to make it a rock fight, a muddy rock fight for LSU to win. That's really what you're looking at. Now, Texas A&M, on the other hand, they just got to make sure that they don't allow LSU to gain momentum because they're smothering their offense or because they're turning the ball over more than really what they should. And then for LSU, on the opposite end, offense has got to show up. I don't know if you're going to be able to slow down Texas A&M enough. Surprisingly, only Auburn was able to do that all year. But even then, Auburn was coming off of the Notre Dame game. So that was a letdown spot. And yet Texas A&M, they still find a way to win in spite of that. And in the meanwhile, turnover margin. I think, again, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but when you have two somewhat evenly matched teams, is what you got going on with the Texas A&M and LSU. Turnover margin and special teams, I think, could also play a really tremendous impact in terms of how this game ends up going. So for the last time, we'll definitely go ahead and check the model and what the model has going on. So this is the first time where, at least for this week, in terms of our major games, where my internal metrics are actually saying that the wrong team is favored. So right now, Texas A&M is a very short favorite at 2.5 points, whereas my internal metrics are saying that LSU actually should be a 1.5 point favorite. And that's baking into the fact that this is a wounded animal team in LSU. This is a team that really has its backs against the wall, not only as the physical team itself, but I know Brian Kelly, might be feeling a little bit more heat as well. So that's where that's coming from and why LSU is a favorite. Just the pure desperation. And there still is a lot of talent on that LSU sideline. It's just that talent has not been fully utilized, at least not yet anyways, right? That being said, even though this is going to be the type of game where obviously Texas A&M would like to win the game and would want to win the game, obviously, LSU needs to win this game. And even though this game is a night game inbound in Baton Rouge, and Brian Kelly has done a tremendous job winning in his home building for your night games, I believe their record is 20-1. I don't necessarily think that is going to matter. I trust Mike Elko far more than I trust Brian Kelly. I think that Texas A&M has more paths to win than LSU. So even though earlier this week, when I did my initial prediction show for week number 9 a couple of days ago, and I had LSU pulling this upset off, the more that I thought about it over the last couple of days, the more that I sat there and I thought to myself, Texas A&M just has a lot more paths to win this game than LSU does. And so because of all that, I'm going to flip my pick here. I'm actually going to disagree with the model here. I think that not only does Texas A&M win outright, I think Texas A&M also covers here. So I'm going with Texas A&M winning 31-24. Again, I think it's going to be a really desperate struggle here for the LSU Tigers. But unfortunately, I think Mike Elko is the better ball coach, and I think they're a more complete team. That's going to show on Saturday. And Texas A&M, in my opinion, would not be surprised at all if they remain undefeated here in the 2025 college football season.